Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, November 19th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma in for Maya Trabulsi. House Democrats have voted to pass President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion Buildback Better bill. It would dramatically expand social services for Americans, work to mitigate the climate crisis, increase access to health care, and deliver aid to families and children. But major obstacles await in the Senate. Chris Nguyen has the latest from Washington.
In our nation's capital,
the Buildback Better bill is passed.
A big win for House Democrats after the passage of President Biden's sweeping $1.9 trillion spending bill, which would dramatically expand the nation's social safety net.
This bill is monumental. It's historic. It's transformative. It's bigger than anything we've ever done.
Among the many provisions, the Build Back Better Act would create a universal pre-K program, extend the enhanced child tax credit, and expand access to health care, affordable housing, and home care for seniors and people with disabilities. Democrats say these items are urgently needed, but Republicans have decried the legislation as reckless spending.
It's a pathway to socialism.
Friday's vote came after an overnight delay in which House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy spoke for more than 8.5 hours, trying to stall action on the floor.
Speaker Pelosi has crammed even more radical policies into a partisan bill that costs trillions in dollars we don't have, for government-run programs that nobody wants.
In a statement, President Biden applauded the House's passage, calling it a giant step forward for his agenda. The bill now faces a tough road ahead in the Senate, where major changes are expected. But Democrats hope to send it to the president's desk by Christmas.
Whatever comes out of the Senate, we'll be working together with them so that we have agreement when it comes back to the House.
Chris Nguyen, KPBS News.
The president's Build Back Better plan calls for a significant chunk of money for clean energy and climate change. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Taxpayers investing in rooftop solar or electric cars could be getting significant help from the federal government. In fact, the nearly $2 trillion package would invest more than $550 billion in policies aimed at curbing climate change.
The way that we move goods, the way we move people, the way we build buildings, the way we grow food, the way we generate electricity, all of it will be impacted, improved, greenhouse gas emissions reduced.
Levin says the bill extends existing tax credits for renewable energy for another 10 years.
And on the types of incentives that we need to really get rolling with more electric vehicles and solar and battery storage systems, just making all of the above cheaper and better and domestically manufactured.
The hope is that renewable energy will cut the nation's greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. All of San Diego's Democrat representatives supported the package because they say it'll be transformational.
It also has over $100 billion for climate resilience and the Civilian Climate Corps so that we can make sure we're addressing droughts and floods and create 300,000 jobs through the Civilian Climate Corps.
Republican Darrell Issa voted no on the bill. He says it doesn't fix the nation's energy or border issues, and Issa says it doesn't erase the nation's tax burden. But Jacobs says the plan will pay off.
I believe that because of the investments we're making, it will actually reduce the deficit over the long term even more than is currently being estimated, because we know that for every dollar you spend addressing childhood poverty now, you actually save $7 down the road.
Jacobs says House leaders will work with the Senate to keep the plan intact. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
This week, President Biden signed a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill into law. Coming up on Evening Edition, what it means for San Diego County. Not guilty on all charges. That's the verdict handed down by a jury in Kyle Rittenhouse's trial. He faced multiple charges, including homicide, for killing 2 people and injuring a third during a protest last year. Isabel Rosales has more.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Kyle Rittenhouse found not guilty on all charges by a jury in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The verdict coming after roughly 25 hours of deliberation by the panel of 5 men and 7 women. Rittenhouse was accused of first-degree intentional homicide and 4 other felony charges. The shooting came in the wake of unrest in Kenosha following the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a 29-year-old black man. Rittenhouse traveled to Kenosha and was given an AR-15 style rifle by a friend. After a crowd pursued him, he shot 3 people, killing Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber and injuring Gage Grosskreutz. He also shot at an unidentified man who kicked him and tried to flee. Rittenhouse claims self-defense.
I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself.
The prosecution called 22 witnesses, hoping to show that Rittenhouse provoked those around him, leading to the shooting. Defense attorneys arguing that Rittenhouse was under attack and had no other choice in order to save his own life.
What is wrong with this system?
In anticipation of a verdict, the governor of Wisconsin put 500 National Guard troops on standby. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, I'm Isabel Rosales.
Boosters for everyone 18 and older. Today, the CDC made it official, authorizing 3rd doses from Pfizer and Moderna. Top U.S. health officials say an additional dose is needed since there's been an uptick in COVID-19 hospitalizations among vaccinated people who haven't had boosters, especially those 65 and older. California recently expanded booster shots to all fully vaccinated adults. Opponents of San Diego's vaccination mandates gathered at Balboa Park today, calling for the mayor to reconsider dismissing employees who won't comply by the December 1st deadline. They claim they're supporting local first responders, but KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado got a different story from the head of the firefighters union.
Hey everybody, it's Todd.
Mayor Todd Gloria has made it clear, if you want to continue working for the city of San Diego, you must be fully vaccinated or have a valid exemption by December 1st. In a press release issued Friday morning, he emphasized the mandate is necessary to protect the public and employees who regularly interact with them. The police and fire departments continue to have some of the highest numbers of unvaccinated employees, nearly 37% of SDPD and more than 16% at San Diego Fire and Rescue.
We have to remember, we go into people's homes who are not healthy, who are very susceptible to disease and illness. And if not for ourselves, then for the public and for our families, we encourage firefighters to get the vaccine for COVID.
That's Jesse Connor, the president of Local 145, representing the city's firefighters. He says they support and encourage the vaccine. After all, they even helped vaccinate many in the city.
We encourage the highest level of precautions available to us. It's the same as the breathing apparatus we wear or the turnouts that we wear.
The union says it will follow the law and support exemptions for religious and medical reasons.
I know that folks feel like their constitutional rights are being violated, but we've checked with several experienced attorneys and know that to not be accurate. Unfortunately, the Constitution doesn't guarantee you the right to work for the city of San Diego. And if you choose not to comply with multiple options that the employer or the city is giving you, I can't help you. But that's your personal decision.
He says lately their message is getting hijacked by a minority that will not comply or take precautions. And worse, he says firefighters from other departments are showing up at local rallies claiming to represent San Diego firefighters.
I think that it is, absolutely appalling that they're representing themselves as San Diego City firefighters, because that is not true. I don't like that they're fear-mongering.
He says firefighters want to get past COVID too, and their mission will never waver.
We'll continue to do what we need to do to provide the best service to the citizens of San Diego, and we'll do that, honorably.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
A potential legal setback for anyone trying to fight the COVID vaccination mandate in the San Diego Unified School District. A judge has ruled against the family of a 16-year-old female student at Scripps Ranch High School. They claimed a religious exemption should keep her from having to get vaccinated. The judge denied her request, saying there was no proof of irreparable damage from the vaccine and no precedent of other cases like hers. The district does not allow religious or personal belief exemptions, only medical exemptions. New rules for air quality were supposed to be imposed on sport fishing boats today, but KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne tells us there's an extension.
Sport fishing boat owners were expecting a vote on new air quality regulations that they say could put many boats out of business. The California Air Resources Board is proposing the regulations to improve air quality. They want boat owners to upgrade to newer, less polluting engines that can't be installed in many of the older sport fishing boats.
Our obvious ask is, let's come up with a path that people can comply with, that is logical and reasonable.
Ken Franke, the president of the Sport Fishing Association, has been fighting for a compromise. He says there are only a couple hundred sport fishing boats statewide. But Bill McGavern with the Coalition for Clean Air says the regulations will make a difference.
What's really striking is that the pollution from one sport fishing boat can equal the pollution from 162 diesel school buses.
He says no industry likes to be regulated, but the primary goals are public health and zero emissions.
The problem is that all the polluters need to clean up in order for us to solve this severe air pollution problem that we have.
But Franke fears that if the regulations are passed, mom and pop shops will close, tour prices will double, and ocean access will become a luxury.
The folks who go out on these boats, a lot of them don't have a lot of money. They're not rich. They don't own their own boat. This is the only way that they get to go and take their kids out fishing on a half-day boat or whatever. We go raise those prices by double. That ends their access to the ocean. That is wrong.
The Air Resources Board will keep taking public comments and are expected to vote in the spring. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
They've stood along Newport Avenue in the Ocean Beach, Point Loma neighborhood for more than 100 years. But a number of palm trees may be coming down before long. The airport authority says they are or could become a hazard to approaching airplanes. KPBS reporter John Carroll talked to some neighbors who say the trees should stay right where they are.
It is a quintessentially Southern California scene. The colonnade of palm trees lining Newport Avenue from the ocean up to the top of the street have been here since being planted in the early part of the last century.
When we first received a letter on that was dated October 8th, we didn't receive the letter until October 14th.
The letter to Tracy Vandy Walker and her husband John came from the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority. It said that 2 palm trees, one in front of their house and one across the street, would have to be removed because they pose or would soon pose a threat to planes when they land from the west. But she soon learned it wasn't just those 2 trees.
Some other neighbors received these notices also with a map with trees in front of their house also.
The city did manage to cut off the top of one of the trees here at the top of Newport Avenue. Theoretically, they would have just kept right on going, but then neighbors got involved. And Vandy Walker sprung into action. She started following city crews around, standing under trees she thought they were about to cut.
And they had to stop because they can't top off the tree with me standing right underneath it.
At the same time she was protecting the trees, Vandy Walker was also trying to get answers from the airport authority, from the city. She says that has been a frustrating experience.
We asked for the reports, we asked for the calculations they're using for this, and we were just getting a runaround back and forth with no one having any information for us.
We reached out to the airport authority and to the city. Both issued statements. The one from the airport says in part, the city of San Diego owned palm trees located in the public right-of-way adjacent to the neighboring homes exceeds or will soon exceed acceptable elevations under federal standards, intruding into the airspace that surrounds the airport. And this from the city, again, just a portion of their overall statement. There is currently no date for removal of the palms, and we are engaging with the FAA and the San Diego airport so that we may receive clear direction on why removal is necessary and the expected impacts to flights and public safety if the trees are not removed. Vandy Walker says if it can be shown the trees really are an aviation hazard, she won't stand in the way of their removal. But for now, at least, this iconic vista will stay the way it's looked for decades. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Lightning-sparked wildfires have taken a staggering toll on the world's largest trees. Sequoia National Park released new estimates today showing that nearly 10,000 giant sequoias have been killed in the past 2 years. That's between 13 and 19% of the giant trees native to the Sierra Nevada mountains. Sequoias were once considered nearly fireproof, but fires have become more severe with hotter droughts brought on by climate change.
We've been keeping it cool for quite a while now as we continue to see some of that onshore flow, but we briefly kick into some offshore flow heading into Sunday, which means some milder times still ahead of us as we close out the weekend. And there's a weak disturbance next week. I think, though, mostly it brings us a few extra clouds in many areas. Not going to be a huge impact for travel. And the good news is, looking out to Thanksgiving, seems a-okay. Seems pretty quiet as far as weather is concerned. Notice around the area tonight, we are talking about some of those coastal clouds persisting. We'll fall to 56 in the city. Oceanside coming in at 49, and you head towards Ramona, we're at 42 for that low. Futurecast does depict some of those marine clouds here still hanging on for us, especially as we go into daybreak tomorrow morning. So we'll have them around, but otherwise the area stays pretty cloud-free. And as we go into Friday, well, we've got that continued cool here near our coastlines. Otherwise, pretty warm for November throughout most of the Southwest. So our weather pattern, at least for the big picture, really stays fairly quiet. We'll see some subtle changes here as we go through, not just tomorrow, but more so the end of the weekend. Tomorrow, 67 for the high. Again, marine clouds giving way to afternoon sunshine. Mount Laguna coming in at 58 for that high. Your Saturday, still pretty quiet here. There's some more activity farther north where they do get a little bit of cooler air working into Nevada, but does not have an impact on us. But we do see that offshore flow kick in for Sunday, which is why we'll get back into the upper 70s for Sunday and Monday. It does come, though, at the price of a few extra clouds. That's that weak disturbance trying to work in for some of our coastal areas. Inland communities, you're actually hanging out in the 70s for a while here. That's kind of that cooler coastal influence with the onshore flow. Kicks around to the lower 80s as we go through Sunday and Monday with the extra cloud cover, again, with that weak disturbance coming ashore. And we find that, too, in the mountain locations. Notice really no chances of showers depicted here as we keep things pretty quiet. And then for desert locations, staying in the 80s throughout much of the week and into the upcoming holiday week. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Tonight, we bring you the third and final part of our three-part series. KPBS race and equity reporter Christina Kim examines how people are reconciling with the legacy of racial restrictions and why people are choosing to remove or, in some cases, not remove the racial restrictions from their deeds.
I can sense that there's a calm energy about it, and everyone who has come into this house has had that moment where they walk in and they go, oh my God, feels so good in here. Like, it feels like a sanctuary.
And that's exactly what Kiona Beatty and Ken Zach's 1920 Mission Hill bungalow feels and smells like. A sanctuary perfumed with Palo Santo and filled with plants and decorated in rich earth tones. But in 2019, they uncovered a hard truth about their dream home, a racially restrictive covenant attached to the original deed. It, like so many other San Diego properties built in the early 20th century, barred non-white people from owning in their neighborhood.
That's a shadow over this, not only this property, but this whole neighborhood has this restriction tied to it, or, at least did. Now it's not legally enforceable. But so to me, it was like, let's remove that. Let's remove that shadow for this house.
Beatty is black and Zach is white. It felt wrong that the original deed to their shared home banned Beatty from living there. The U.S. Supreme Court outlawed racially restrictive deeds in 1948, and there was an attachment to their deed saying just that. But Beatty and Zach wanted to take things a step further. They wanted any and all mentions of the restrictions struck from the document.
So what I did is I just, again, I was a retired lawyer at the time, so I just Googled, the statute and found it, and the statute's pretty clear.
The statute Zach is referring to is a law that was enacted in 2005. It gives California homeowners the ability to cross out racially restrictive language from their deeds. Beatty and Ken finished the process on the last day of 2020's Black History Month. They immediately felt the difference.
People might say, oh, it's not enforceable, so what's the point in going through all the steps and doing this? Like, what does it really prove? And I like to say it felt like doing like just like a big sage, like smudge stick. It's like the ultimate smudge stick.
For them, it's not about forgetting, but creating a new foundation and future for their home. Not everyone in California, however, is eager to remove the racially restrictive covenants from their deeds.
You can make a statement, as they have, that says that language does not apply, but I don't want it to be lost 20 years from now that this was a part of society. They say, be aware of history or forever be doomed to repeat it. Certain parts of the country I see repeats, and for me, I just want it known this happens here in San Diego too.
Michael Du of El Cerrito is a Black homeowner who was once mistaken for a gardener in his own El Cerrito neighborhood. He's keeping the restrictive language on his deed, and he's been able to use it to get his extended family to talk about San Diego's racist history and the hurdles they faced. It's not been easy.
You really have to pull teeth to get your older relatives to talk about these things, and I think that's a piece of the trauma of it all, is like, rather than tackle it head on, we're just going to put it in the back.
He understands why his grandfathers and family don't want to talk about it. But he also wants to make sure that the history is kept alive, especially as debates over suburbia, single-family zoning, and where to build affordable housing are once again taking center stage at the local level, and as we saw during the 2020 presidential campaign, at the national level.
People will fight all of their lives to get into the suburbs and have a beautiful home. There will be no more low-income housing forced into the suburbs.
Racially restrictive covenants and other forms of housing discrimination are illegal now. But the ideas and language that normalize racial restrictions in the first place continue today.
You see it a lot in NIMBYism. So a lot of NIMBY movements, not in my backyard movements, where people are pushing back against changes that would make a neighborhood more accessible.
That's Nancy Quack, a UC San Diego historian. Often when local San Diegans talk about property values and their rights as homeowners, she hears the same logic that was used in the past to defend segregation.
I earned this house. This is where I put my money and I saved my earnings, so therefore this is something that I deserve.
Quack says that while we no longer hear overt racist statements around housing, homeowners still feel it's their right to control who can and can't live near them. That's why she and others emphasize the importance of seeing and understanding the connection between the racial covenants of last century and the housing issues of today. It's key to ensuring a more equitable future. Cristina Kim, KPBS News.
To read our complete 3-part series on racial covenants in San Diego, go to kpbs.org. You may want to catch a ride on the Trolley this Sunday. It's free. MTS is offering free rides on all Trolley lines to celebrate the official opening of the Blue Line extension. The 11-mile expansion includes 9 new Trolley stations connecting San Ysidro to UC San Diego. The $2.1 billion project took 5 years to complete and increases the Trolley network by 20%. Today's headline from Washington is the House passing the Buildback Better bill. It's the second part of a massive investment in local communities. SDSU's Mira Kopik tells us some of what's already planned for San Diego.
The state's going to receive over $380 million for vehicle charging stations for electric vehicles. Additionally, the bill is going to provide over $100 million to expand high-speed broadband to over 500,000 Californians who are in remote areas who do not have any access to broadband at this point. When is this all going to happen? as early as the 2022. But the most important part of the money that's coming to San Diego will hopefully improve our transit system. That's part of the $160 billion vision that SANDAG delivered about a year ago. But a lot of infrastructure projects require some kind of local matching funds. There's a potential ballot measure that's going to be on the November 2022 ballot that's going to raise the sales tax by 0.5 cent. And that is to fund a lot of this expansion in our transit system. And in order to get the kind of matching funds that we need, if the city passes it, it is very likely that we're going to get a lot of matching funds from the federal government.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, not guilty. Kyle Rittenhouse is acquitted on all charges in a case that sparked national debate. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The morning commute turned into a mad dash for cash in Carlsbad. Bags of cash fell out of an armored truck, sending bills blowing across both lanes of the 5 near Tamarack Avenue. Apparently, there was an issue with the truck's door that caused the mishap. The CHP says drivers stopped in the middle of the road to pick up the money, leading to 2 arrests. Officers say anyone who pocketed the loose cash should return it to CHP headquarters, or else they could be identified in witness videos and charged with theft. If you missed the corpse flower bloom in Encinitas on Halloween, you have a second chance. The San Diego Botanic Garden's second corpse flower, nicknamed Stinking Beauty, is now fully open. The plant is native to Indonesia and is known for its strong odor, described as rotting flesh. The garden has extended its hours this weekend to give more people a chance to see and smell the rare flower. It only blooms every 4 to 5 years and fades after 48 hours. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.